Hello, welcome to Unbearable 73. My name is Matt. This is like the fifth time I tried to record this. My voice is a little funky right now. Sorry for that. So let's get to it. I'm reviewing House of the Dragon, episode 2. Full spoiler review, guys. Full on spoiler. Okay? So let's talk about production. I mean, it's the same issues, as the first show. Like, what's good is good and what's bad is bad, and that stupid drained out palette, the washed out color palette, which I can't stand. Now let me say up front, going into any review of the show, I'm not gonna say every episode, so I'm just gonna say it for this one. Okay. When I learned HBO would be doing an adaptation of A Song of Ice and Fire years and years ago, I was originally enthused. I thought that the Peter Jackson model was going to be used, with a respectful adaptation that was. When I say respectful, I mean in regards to, wanting to be to adapt a version of the material and represent it, not to take the source and transform it to something else. Okay, and I don't mean it in a good or bad sense, because transformative could be good too. Okay, but that's what it gave me. HBO wanted to make a soap opera out of what was not a soap opera written. That's basically what happened. So. There's sex and obviously graphic violence and whatnot in Martin's writing, but the show played up those elements and as well as they dramatically increased the melodrama and downplayed the effects of the brutal wars that were occurring. I also thought and understood that one season per book in no way could express the totality or even close to the totality of what the story Martin was writing. So, just the first book of Game of Thrones should have been 2 seasons minimum. Maybe two. I guess two. So I decided to watch Game of Thrones for 2 reasons. First, I wanted to see the shock effects on the non-book reading audience. The internet blowing up to Ned's death and the Red Wedding and other instances in the show, especially in the first 6 or 7 seasons, made it worth it. Second, as far as being a soap opera, it was well done. It had plenty of violence and sex. It didn't you didn't have to think too hard to get from plot point to plot point. It was fun watching the first couple of seasons. So I go into House of Dragons with the same perspective, meaning I am not looking for a faithful adaptation that depicts the events the way they're depicted in the source material. Okay? So on to the plot. Again, I'm not going to cover every detail because I'm just going to cover the things that stood out to me the most or need to be talked about, because there's going to be an ongoing rolling discussion of this. The first thing is the timeline compression. Now, I think this show by design is trying to get into the more action-packed arc of what's coming, okay? Including Daemon Targaryen and Corlys Velaryon conquering the Stepstones, the civil wars in Westeros, and the eventual dance of the dragons, okay? The events, that event in particular and associated war will make what Dany did in Season 8, well, it's like comparing the bombing of Dresden in World War II with burning down a singular house, with Dany's action being the latter. Timeline compression is a peculiar thing. Sometimes it works, as Peter Jackson used in his Lord of the Rings movie, and sometimes it doesn't. And I think right now it's failing. They're failing at it. There's so many years compressed into these first 2 episodes that you've lost stuff. For example, I think by compressing the timeline, in order to have Daemon's storyline make sense, they needed more than that little bit of dialogue you had with Viserys, right when Viserys kicked him out of made him not the heir. Daemon always had Viserys back. The reason that the small council wanted Daemon out of the way is because he prevented them from manipulating Viserys. So something happened in this episode where Daemon transfers loyalty to from Viserys to Rhaenyra doesn't make sense in that kind of deal. Like, why would he be doing that? So the compression didn't help there. Now the next bit, this show is not devoid of politics. At first, when I noticed they aged the character, I thought they were doing so specifically to avoid the cringy scene between Viserys and Laena Velaryon. According to the lore, Laena was born in 92 AC. Viserys became king in 103 AC. Balon and Aemma died in 105 AC. Viserys remarried in 106 AC. Viserys wasn't yet 30 years old when he remarried, okay? And Laena would have been about 13 or 14 years old. Now, this clearly, Viserys and Daemon, who are both under 30 in the actual lore, are both really closer to the age of 40 to 45 in terms of visual depiction. There's no way around that, Now, so if they age them up, why age everyone else up in the show? Everyone was made older except for Laena. Well, the answer is obvious. They want to make the plight of the woman in Westeros a feature of their show. The thing is, Martin already depicts the plight in a great manner. You understand that this is a crappy setting for women and it shouldn't be there in reality. Martin's books aren't like the show where it's a celebratory soap opera of one person triumphing over another. Martin's books are a gritty, deterministic look at how this world functions. A dark world where mass die-offs happen every time winter rolls around. Where there's constant slave raids and pirate raids, and people have to huddle together to survive because they never can get out of that sort of early medieval tech level because of the winter coming over and over again. I'll reiterate it one last time. Martin in his actual writing depicted the issues women struggle with in Westeros in his actual writing, so to speak, and better than they're doing in this show. Doing what they're doing is not necessarily. It's basically going to drive some chunk of the audience away because they're not going to. They're just burnt out on seeing anything related to modern politics. Now, one more thing to cover here. It looks like the first major event that they're going to tackle is the conquering of the Stepstones by Corlys and the alliance between Corlys and Daemon. Okay. I hope they don't rush through this. I don't want to see one episode of like one battle and they've conquered the whole Stepstones. I really think the whole rest of the season should be the conquering of the Stepstones. We need to cut down on time skips and see some more of the war. I don't want to drag this review out because we've got a whole season to go here. The rapid time skips need to stop. Even watching such a soap opera does not make them less annoying. The episode, I wish they'd stop the color palette too, but I'm going to try not to whine about that. This episode was boring. The only actor who can really carry a scene when little action is occurring is Matt Smith. He seems far less present in this episode. Overall, I'd give this a 4.5 out of 10. It advanced the plot, but nothing happened that you really had to see. They could have talked. They could have, used a little talking in the next episode to explain some of this stuff. Comment down below if you have any questions for me about this video. Please share your thoughts. Share this video if you enjoyed it. Like if you like. Dislike if you dislike. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. My name is Matt. This has been Unbearable 73. Have a nice day, and I am out of here.